What is up, guys? Archon here, bringing you guys another YouTube video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the Hearthstone Battlegrounds patch that's coming out today. As you guys know, yesterday I did a bunch of Apex Legends videos, and I also was going to stream the Apex Legends patch, but unfortunately, the patch didn't come out till midnight, so I think what I'm going to do today is I'm going to try to do half a day of Apex and half a day of Hearthstone. So if you guys want to come hang out with me, the link will be down below in the description. Come hang out, maybe play with a couple rounds of Battlegrounds with me, maybe play some Apex Legends if you guys are looking to play Apex. Just have a general good time. Queen Wag Toggle. Wax Warband. Old. Give a friendly minion of each type +2 attack. New. Give a friendly minion of each type +2/+1. So basically our hero power for 1 mana is, 1 gold is going to be a Lightfang effect. Which, if you can do this in the early game and scale your Menagerie build pretty early and then on 5 find a Lightfang, you should be pretty good with a Menagerie build. It should carry all the way through to the end. So be sure to keep an eye out for her. I think she's going to be pretty strong in the early to mid game now, because she's going to be able to get her stats above the Tavern 1 and Tavern 2 tier minions pretty quickly. The Curator. Menagerous. Start the game with a 1/1 amalgam with all minion types. New. Start the game with a 1/2 amalgam with all minion types. So giving that extra, HP is really good when you think about it in the early game, especially. Because this way, if, let's say, you fight the Sky Pirate or whatever it is, he goes into your other minion that's not the amalgam. Your amalgam now lives if the token slams into the amalgam. It lives with 1 HP, which is big, and that means you're going to keep winning early and not just tying people. You're going to be able to actually deal damage to people. Not to mention that if you happen to find the Rockpool Hunter early, you can buff your amalgam to a 2/3, and that's pretty strong, honestly. 2/3 is a pretty good breakpoint for the early stage of the game, because most times you're going to trade with the Homunculus even, and the Dragon, I'm trying to think of his name, the Lieutenant. I can't think of the Dragon Lieutenant or whatever his name is. So that's a pretty strong effect to have for Tavern Tier 1. Obviously, it doesn't affect the mid game too much, it just really affects the early game. Anyway, Hook Tusk. Trash for Treasure. Old. Cost 0, remove a friendly minion, get a random one from a Tavern Tier lower. New cost 1, remove a friendly minion, discover a random one from a Tavern Tier lower. So basically, when Hook Tusk was first put into the game, Hook Tusk had the original hero power, cost 0, remove a friendly minion, and discover a random one from a Tavern Tier lower. And the reason this was broken was because on turn 1, you could actually get a token like the Murloc Tidehunter or the Alley Cat and remove the token, and then get another token, and then on turn 1, you would have literally 3 minions to your opponent's 1 in most cases. And from there, it just kind of let you snowball your board and then let you sell your tokens for gold advantage to let you Tavern Tier up early, and then, she just basically took over the game with it. This looks like it's a middle ground where they're not letting you use the hero power on Tavern Tier 1 anymore. Or I'm sorry, on 3 gold anymore. So there's going to be 2 ways to play this. You're going to probably look for the token build, and if you get the token out the gate, you're probably going to stay on Tavern Tier 1, turn the token into another minion, buy a minion, and just get board advantage that way and try to scale it like you used to scale it. The other way would be if you don't get a token, you're pretty much just going to play the game normal, where you just go to 2 and then you keep going as you normally would. And maybe you'll get value out of the hero power later in the game. Especially if you happen to fall, like on Tavern Tier 2, you could easily buy a minion on 5 gold, turn 1 into another minion, and if you happen to get a Celemental, that puts you ahead automatically. Actually, no, that puts you at even, doesn't it? Because you cost 1, and if you get a Celemental, that only puts you at even now. So, I don't know. It's going to be an interesting experiment with Hook Tusk for sure, to figure out where she falls. Rat King, A Tale of Kings. Old, whenever you buy a minion of a specific type, give it +1/+2. Swaps each turn. New, whenever you buy a minion of a specific type, give it +2/+2. Swaps each turn. It doesn't really help the problem that Rat King has. Like, Rat King is good. Don't get me wrong, like +2/+2 is really nice, especially when you buy a minion and you're lucky to where it lines up with what you have in Bob's Tavern. The problem is, though, is that it has to line up with what's in Bob's Tavern. Usually on the first turn, if you don't get the hero power, it tends to be rough, because you're not using it on Tier 2 unless there's like something really good, or on turn 4 gold, unless there's something really good that you want there. and you typically go to Tavern Tier 2 where you can get better benefit out of it and better break points for the minions that you buy potentially. Like if you use this on the Pirate, the 3/3 Pirate, it turns into a 5/5 now, which crushes most Tavern Tier 2 minions. So it trades 1 for 2 every time, just about. But if you can get this early, and you can get this on like King of Demons right away, and you get the Homunculus, that makes that Homunculus a 4/6, and that will literally carry you throughout the early game. You can actually just level straight twice. Or you can level at least once, and then on 5 gold, you can do whatever, like fish for whatever build you want, and then on 6, you could even sell it and then go, or you could even level up on 6, is what I'm getting at, sorry. Convoluted way of saying it, but you could actually level on 6 instead of the next on 7 gold, and then it kind of puts you ahead of everybody. Because the 4/6 will carry you pretty far. And if you happen to find 2 of those, that's just amazing. So, Rat King, don't sleep on Rat King. I think this is going to be a pretty good buff if you can get lucky in Bob's Tavern. If you can't get lucky in Bob's Tavern, you're probably going to play the game like you normally would. Kind of the same thing with Hook Tusk, where if you get the token start to start the game, you're going to be in good shape. But if you don't get the token start to flood the board, then you're kind of going to be playing the game like you would any other hero. Rake Issue. Tavern Landing. Old. Give a random friendly minion stats equal to your Tavern tier. New. Give a friendly minion stats equal to your Tavern tier. Targeted. So when Rake Issue first came out, I said that Rake Issue was weak because it was a random target effect, and that is terrible. For something like this, you want to be able to put the stats on the minion that you want. And for 2, especially for 2 gold, like if it was only 1 gold or something and it was random, that would be different. But 2 gold, that's a very interesting breakpoint at 10 because it costs you a reroll and it costs you a 3rd minion that you can buy that turn if you don't sell anything on your board. I guess with 2 gold now, like let's say you have something you want to scale, like a Crackling Cyclone, for example, you can, on 10 gold or whatever, whenever you get it, you can put 2 gold investment into it, probably, you know, give it +4/+4 starting out, obviously, when you find it, or 3/3 when you find it. And, you know, if you happen to triple get a Domo or something, you can then, like, super scale your Crackling Cyclone, which I don't think is too bad. I definitely like the on-click effect instead of what it was before. Makes it feel a lot better, especially for, like I said, 2 gold. If it was 1 gold, that'd be different, but 2 gold, that's just way too much value to have it be random. Or way too much of a burden to have it be random. George the Fallen, Boon of Light. Old cost 3, new cost 2. Another one going down to 2 here. So this is really, really good. George, when you think about it, actually got a buff when, not Rockpool, but Megasaur was removed from the game, because George is the only one now that can do Divine Shield Poisonous Murlocs. So it indirectly buffed George in a way. And now you can actually use his hero power earlier in the game. The earliest you're probably going to use it is on 5 gold if you don't want to double roll and you're fine with whatever's in the tavern and you only take one of the minions, you know, and you're not doing a token start where you can get 2 extra minions. Divine Shield does somewhat make up for the extra minion that you would otherwise be getting from a token start, I think. To have a 3/3 attack twice instead of, you know, buying 2 minions, it may be better in the long run. It's about equal, I would say. So, not to mention that the Divine Shield stays on permanently, and the minion you buy you may sell later. But don't sleep on George. I think this is going to help his early game immensely. Not to mention, like I said, if he wants to, he can start Divine Shielding Murlocs earlier into the game on 5 gold. Like if he has a Rock Pool and he thinks he's going to keep it, he can, you know, Divine Shield the Rock Pool and keep it for the rest of the game, or even War Leader or whatever. You can Divine Shield that and keep that alive permanently, or an old Murkai, and get a lot of value out of it in the early to mid game. Like I said, I definitely think you're going to see George building a lot of Murlocs, honestly. So don't sleep on George. I think this is a pretty good buff for him. Ysera, Dream Portal. Old, at the start of your turn, add a dragon to Bob's Tavern. New, Bob always offers an extra dragon whenever the tavern is refreshed. So Ysera is already pretty good in the early game due to her hero power, especially if you can get the red whelp start where you just get like 2 or 3 gold red whelps and you just blow everybody's board down before they even have a chance to attack you. And then you just keep leveling up constantly, and you know, you get to 5 or 6 before everybody else can. Find your Caligo, scale your dragons, and then just win off that. To now be able to control that, so let's say I'm like 10 gold, right? You're on 5, and you want to find Razorgore. You can now reroll and keep trying to find Razorgore with a guaranteed dragon. Maybe you'll find a triple along the way that you'll just discover. Maybe you'll want to pick up Bronze Wardens as well. You pick those up because you have more odds of finding Bronze Warden than you do a Razor Gore, and then you get a triple, and then you find your Caligos that way. It just guarantees you more dragon triples, and that's the big thing. I could even see this being played with Gold Grubber as well, because you're going to get that much more dragons. Not to say that it's going to give you triples guaranteed. Obviously, if you have bad luck and you're not playing the dragons that it keeps giving you, you're not going to have much of a fun time playing dragons. But I do think that this is a just immense buff to Ysera. We'll have to see. I may be playing it up more than what it actually is, but it does seem really strong to me. The Magician, because I'm not saying his name and I'm not saying his hero power. It now costs 1, and effigy has been removed from the secret pool. I can't remember how many secrets are in his pool because I don't typically play the hero that much. I think it's, 6 to 9, something like, somewhere in between there. And with effigy gone, you have now an extra chance at finding a second ice block, potentially. I do know that you get a decreased odds of finding ice block, but it is still possible to get ice block in back-to-back rounds once it's popped. And then with effigy gone, that increases that value by a little bit more. So we'll have to see. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but we'll have to see just how much it affects him. Galakron's Greed. Old cost 1, new cost 0. No longer freezes. So the trade-off here is that it no longer freezes, but it costs 0. So what that means is you can actually buy a minion on 1 if you want to use on turn 1 if you want to use the hero power. And to me, the problem, Galakron's hero power is so clunky. I don't think it would be that broken if it cost 0 and froze a minion. I think that would be fine, because now what happens is you use the hero power, you have to manually freeze the board, and now you're stuck with the minions that are in Bob's Tavern. On 2, you could probably still Tavern tier up to 2, since now you're able to buy a minion and use the hero power, level up the Tavern again. So you'll basically have a 3-cost minion, or Tavern 3 minion on 5 gold. And then you'll be stuck with what's in your Tavern tier for pretty much the rest of the game if you're going to try to do a 6. It still feels a little clunky. Not as clunky as it did before. But I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it. I'm sure it's going to be strong. I'm sure you're going to be able to, actually be able to get a 5 or 6 cost Tavern minion. But at the cost of, not being able to actually re-roll and set up your board the way you want it. You're going to kind of be forced to go whatever you get off of Tavern tier 5 and 6, or whatever you choose to take your minion on. So Galakron's going to be in an interesting place. I want to try it for sure just to see. Tess Greymane, Bob's Burgles. Old, refresh Bob's Tavern with minions from your opponent's last warband. Refresh Bob's Tavern with your opponent's last warband. Wow. So this is a buff to Tess in a way, because before you would just get some of the minions, now you get all of their minions. And Tess is a really good hero to play and stay on Tavern 3, because if everybody goes ahead of you to Tavern 5 and 6 and you face them, if you don't die or whatever, you don't take a lot of damage, this means that you can now basically steal your opponent's entire board and their entire setup. So you can stay low, try to keep your HP high, scale whatever you're scaling, and then if you face elementals that have a little rag or a Jhin early, you can then use her hero power to automatically guarantee yourself, a second place finish with elementals. The reason I say second place is because odds are that person's going to outscale you, but maybe if they die or something to somebody else, I don't know, you can still win the game, or you can still at least guarantees a first to fourth place finish, in my opinion. Especially if you face the top guy and, like I said, he has good elementals or something, you can steal him and it feels a little bit better. Rather than trying to RNG and hope that you get what you want from their warband. Elite Starseeker, Lead Explorer, Recruitment Map now costs 2, down from 3. I always hated her hero power costing 3. This is way better. So now it doesn't cost a full minion in order to discover a minion from the Tavern tier that you're currently on. So it just feels better all around. Lord Barra, Friendly Wager, now gives your gold back on ties. 1 gold refunded. Okay, I guess this only affects the early game when you try to do it in the early game. I guess that's nice. You at least get your gold back. Because it does suck when you lose it for a tie. That's just, you can't control that. You can give your best hypothesis on who's going to win the game. But if they happen to tie on the 0.5% chance, you're now out your gold. So, good change. Battlegrounds minion updates. Elementals will no longer be a minion type in every match. Okay, we knew that was coming. Wow, Wraith Reaver's getting a buff. Old, 1 attack, 1 health. New, 1 attack, 3 health. Wow. That's actually really strong. It makes him a viable pick in the early game as well. Even if you don't go demons, he's still an okay pick in the early game. Because he trades into a lot more minions evenly and ties a lot more evenly. Yo-Ho Ogre, old tier 3, 2 attack, 8 health. New tier 2, 2 attack, 5 health. So they moved Yo-Ho Ogre down. I wonder if that means that another pirate is getting moved to Tavern tier 3 then? Iron Sensei, old tier 4, new tier 3. Wow. Okay, yep, this is a major buff to mech builds. This is a insane buff to AFK, by the way. Because if you can get the, the Deflectobot, and then get an Iron Sensei with it, you can start scaling your Deflectobot, like, out of the gate. That's pretty insane. Cell C Strongarm, old tier 4, 5 attack, 4 health, new tier 3, 4 attack, 3 health. So she's getting moved to 3 to replace Yo-Ho Ogre, so does that mean that something's moving up? To replace Strongharm now? Rip Snarl Captain, 3 attack, 4 health, 4 attack, 5 health. Yeah, this is needed for pirates, honestly. Especially for a Tavern tier 4 minion. This should help out a little bit. Old Lightfang. At the end of your turn, give a friendly minion type of each minion type +2/+1. At the end of your turn, give a friendly minion type of each minion +2. Wow. If you guys remember when Battlegrounds first came out, Lightfang's effect actually used to be this effect here that the new one is now. So they're basically unnerfing it. And with Wagtoggle or whatever, and her hero power being the old Lightfang effect now, that means that you can easily just super scale minions. Menagerie is going to be really, really strong. That's for sure. Menagerie is going to be amazing. Old tier 5, new tier 6. So they moved the Jin back to 6 for some reason. Something coming down to 5. Doesn't look like it. Old attack 8. 8 attack. Hold on. Let me restart here. Lieutenant Gar. Old 8 attack, 1 health. New 5 attack, 1 health. Sorry guys. Little Rag, old attack 6, old health 6, new 4 and 4. So doesn't really affect Little Rag. The reason you're playing Little Rag is for the effect, not for the stats that it has baseline. Dread Admiral Eliza. Old, whenever a friendly pirate attacks, give all friendly minions +1/+1. New, whenever a friendly pirate attacks, give all friendly minions +2/+1. That's kind of interesting. Not gonna lie. So it seems like they're trying to buff pirates a little bit. Which pirates already scale stupidly. Amalgadon. Well, I mean they scale inside of combat if they attack first stupidly. Amalgadon. Old battlecry. For each different minion type you have, adapt randomly. New battlecry. For each different minion type you have among other minions, adapt randomly. So basically it can't adapt off of itself anymore. That's the big change there. Because before it could actually consider itself a second minion type. If you were running all elementals, you'd get 2 adapts instead of just 1. Now you're only going to get 1 adapt. So, Amalgadon nerfs. Honestly, I think Menagerie is the big winner here, with the Lightfang revert being back to how it was when it first launched. And mechs are also being buffed immensely by having this move to Tavern Tier 3. AFK is getting a buff. Wraith Weaver actually feels good to play, even if it's the only thing in your Bob's Tavern to start with. 1-3 is no joke either. Trade's pretty good. I think Galacron's going to be interesting, and Tess is going to be interesting. This one's meh. Yes, Sarah's going to be pretty good. And George is pretty good. Rake Issue is still kind of going to feel iffy to use, but at least feels better since you can target. Rat King's going to be super strong early game. Hooktuss is going to be very interesting to see how this one pans out. The Curator's kind of a mad buff. It just helps the early game a little bit, so you don't trade as much or draw as much. Queen Wagtoggle, I think, is going to be insane. I think her win rate is going to spike immensely, especially, like I said, with the Lightfang, if you get an early Lightfang. Nefarian has been removed, so Nefarian is definitely the loser of all these buffs because he got removed entirely, so poor little Nefarian. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Like I said, let me know what you guys think of the patch. Who do you think is the big winner of the patch? Like I said, me personally, it's a toss-up. Between, if I had to rate it, like I said before, it'd probably be honestly, I think Rat King's first in terms of these. And then Queen Wag Toggle. And then I think it's going to be probably Ysera. And then very close behind it is probably going to be George. And then Galakron. Actually, I think Tess and then Galakron. We'll have to see how having this cost 0 affects how Galakron plays. Because like I said, you easily get a Tavern Tier 3 minion by the time you're ready to buy another minion. So you could easily get a decent 3 and then carry off of it. But we'll see how greedy people are. But let me know down below. Be sure to like the video, guys, if you found it informative or useful, or you just enjoyed the content. It helps a lot with the YouTube algorithm. Since, like I said, I do a multitude of games. Like I said, last video was Apex, this video is Hearthstone, so it's going to kind of hit the scale a bit differently. It's one of the bad things about YouTube right now is that, unfortunately, you can't cover multiple games without it feeling just horrible with the algorithm. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Later.